Two sides spiteful and determined. Chapter 10. I see through you. Beth held a grip on the girl as Grace searched her pockets and shoes. Scott hollered.
Yeah.
Run now, girl. What's your name? Which one are you? Grace added, your real name. Bryn lands. It's like we are just moving right on up the ladder. Dewey laughed. And without the support of the ladder, whoever is on it will fall. Justin replied. Scott was like a kid on Christmas morning. He was smiling from ear to ear. I wasn't sure on how this day was going to go, but we just found one of the immediate members of the carry-on circle, so I have a good feeling now. You never even told me your name? I'm sorry it has to end like this. Bryn cried. Justin cackled, what? Sorry, princess, you just fell in our trap. What is going on? Bryn asked. Grace guided her to one of the cars. Were you not aware you had a warrant out for your arrest? Bryn didn't have a response. I don't even think she knows where she is right now. Beth got in her face as she sat on the edge of the car. Where are your friends, huh? My friends?
Yeah.
Hun, where is Hallie, and the other two boys? Most importantly, where is Antonio? Bryn's tears continued to roll down her face. I haven't spoken to Antonio in months. Hallie would know where he is. What about Tricky? Grace asked. No, I don't know about him either. Dewey contained the crowd that was starting to form. All right, everyone shows over. He motioned to his dad, let's get this one out of here before more of a scene happens. Scott pulled Justin from the car Bryn was in. I'll drive with this one. I'm going to try and get as much information out as possible. You and Dewey meet us at the jail in the other car. Star. As they pulled into the jail parking lot, a quiet sigh came from the back seat. You're going to be okay. If anything, you'll be jail royalty. Beth joked. Thank you for helping me. Bryn replied. The boys walked her in. Scott stood side by side with Beth. Soon enough this will all be over. Beth replied, we are running out of time though. We need the big fish. The boys joined back at the cars. Where is Grace? Dewey asked. She's been on the phone with this informant for Grandpa about a different bond. Scott replied. Speaking of which, we should swing by the bail bonds office on our way home. Beth replied. Scott groaned, he's going to rip me a new one for not catching Antonio already. At least he isn't on bond with us. Dewey laughed.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody jumps bail on the bounties. Beth chuckled. Scott looked at Justin, you've been awfully quiet? Justin rummaged through his pants pocket. He held a small card in his palms and looked his parents directly in the eyes. There has been something that I've been keeping from you. Oh Lord, what could it be? Scott replied. Justin looked around and said, I don't think we should do this here. Whatever, let's just head over to the bonds office. Beth said as she opened the car door. Scott groaned, oh Lord, it's the district attorney calling again. Dewey looked at him in the rearview mirror, what do they want? We are about to find out. Hello?
Uh-huh.
No, Ann, okay. Well sir, if you don't let me talk I'm going to hang up. I don't know if I can help you with that. All right, we will talk soon. Scott hung up. I swear he just likes when other people hear him talk. What was that about? Dewey asked. Scott called over the radio and ignored him. Beth? Are you driving? She responded, yes. All right, pull over at this stop sign coming up and let Justin drive. Beth rolled her eyes, why there is no point in doing that when we are almost there. Just do it. I need you to think right now, plus I need to talk to you. Beth slammed on the brakes, take the car, Justin. I can't with him sometimes. She threw her hands up as she walked to Scott's window. The DA just called me and said we have 2 days to keep looking or they are pulling us off. If we don't bring Antonio in by sunset in 2 days then we are finished. So start calling all our informats and everyone who has been tied to this case to see if you can gather any more information. Scott explained. I am not even going to comment because I'm going to get even more upset at you. She called out to Grace, who was still in the car, start calling the list of informats so we can have double man. Power. Scott rolled his window back up. I wouldn't want to be in that car with them. Dewey faked a laugh. Soon enough they pulled into a small parking lot with a huge Las Vegas-style sign that read, Bounty Family Bail Bonds. Felicia, Scott's mom, was outside watering the flowers on the windowsill. Her face lit up as she saw them walking towards her. My babies. You all look so defeated. Scott hugged his mom but didn't say much more. Beth, Grace, and Felicia remained outside as the men headed in. Let me tell you that I am so sick of this case. I am going to need the biggest vacation after this. Beth exclaimed. Felicia laughed, don't we all dream of it? The work never ends. Without your guys' help in the office, we have been very behind with files and paperwork. Beth smiled, what would we do without you guys always keeping us busy? Inside the office. Scott flopped down on their couch and buried his face in the throw pillows. Tim had a round of hugs with his grandsons. Scott's voice muffled from inside the pillow, this case is kicking our ass. Dewey added it on the bright side, we caught one this morning though. Just by chance too. Grandpa Tim turned to Justin, someday this will probably all be yours. I thought it would go to the firstborn son, he replied. Well, that's if Dewey wants the responsibility. Tim replied. Dewey stared at them with a blank expression. He didn't have time to respond before the girls walked in. Justin, what did you want to show us earlier? Beth asked as soon as she stepped foot into the building. Justin took a deep breath, okay, don't be mad dash. Scott sat up and sighed, I love when sentences start like that. When we were in the carry-on circles pad I was digging deep in the box of IDs and I found one that was different from all the rest. He slowly pulled the card out from his pocket. Zorro? But we know him as Marcos Mendoza. Scott snatched the card from his hand, why would you wait so long to show this to us? We could have had him in jail already and potentially Antonio caught. Scott, there is no need to yell. Felicia said. There is every reason to yell, Mom. This is considered tampering with evidence. How are we going to get around this? Beth chimed in, I agree that was unethical, but there had to have been a reason why he waited this long. Well, actually yes, because this was around the time he began trusting us and revealing information. Justin answered. But we could have put him in jail. Scott added. Okay, well now we have solid evidence that Marcos is guilty of something. Justin argued. Scott sighed again, now you are thinking like a bounty hunter and I hate to say I'm proud. We will figure out a way around this. Dewey was quiet. He silently excused himself and pulled a cigarette out of his pocket. There is actually no way that just happened. I've been devoted to this my whole life even when I didn't have a choice. What Justin did was completely wrong and could end so badly. If that was me or literally anyone else they would have gotten ripped a new one. Okay, what if we just turn it in when we arrest Marcos saying an anonymous informant gave it to us? They left it in our mailbox with no context. There is no possible way they could or would want to investigate that. Beth stated. Scott nodded, that could work. We need to go right now before he starts to figure out we are onto him. The family busted through the doors practically trampling over Dewey. Really, you're going to smoke a cigarette right now? That's for after hours. Scott said, come on, we have to go over to the Mendozas right now. Scott shouted in excitement, finally justice is starting to be served. Scott came over the radio, all right, when we get closer start driving casually like we are supposed to be there. Everyone is suited up, right? 10-4, Beth replied. Grace, I want you to circle around the back. There shouldn't be a way of him sneaking out the back, but we have to keep that side covered. The boys and I will charge through the front. This could get risky, so just act fast. Scott explained. Beth added, also be mindful and aware they could be watching out their windows. Correct. Right now Marcos believes he's still innocent, so he will have his guard down. The boys snuck up the stairs, then all at once pounded on the door. Scott yelled, we got warrants for your arrest. We know you're in there. Dewey shouted, if you don't open up in 10 seconds we will kick this door in. It's over, Marcos. What are you waiting for? Beth shouted from the bottom of the stairs. Justin began counting 10, 9, 8, 4, 3, 2, 1 inch. The door swung open right as Justin's foot was about to hit the door. Marcos answered with his hands up and before he could even move the boys, tackled him to the ground. Beth ran up the staircase to guard the door. Scott yelled, you are under arrest. Marcos was like a limp noodle laying on the floor with his hands behind his back. Gabriel tried to push past them out the door. What is going on? He said in a panic. Beth cackled, finally we can put one of you bastards in jail. He didn't do anything. Beth shoved the fake driver's license in both their faces. Zorro? Do either of you know a Zorro that looks exactly like little Marcos on the floor? Scott took the license, is this not you? Marcos was quiet. All right, lift him up slowly, he directed Justin and Dewey. Grace ran around to the front and yelled up the staircase, hey. We got a huge crowd forming down here. We better make this quick. Whispers traveled fast within the crowd of neighbors that a Mendoza was caught. Everyone waited to see if today was actually the day that the reign of Antonio terror would stop. The whispers slowly stopped as they saw Marcos being guided in handcuffs past them. Dewey guided him into the car. I just sit right there in the middle and I'm sure both my parents are going to want to ride with you. Marcos looked up at Dewey, I trusted you, man. How could you rat on me? That's just part of my job. I have to hurt feelings, believe me, it's one of the downsides. But I didn't rat on you? I had no idea about the fake. Marcos shrugged, it's whatever, I knew this would happen eventually, that's why I got my life together. I thought I would have avoided this, but my gut instinct always knew I would go down for Antonio. Well, trust he is going down too. Dewey replied. No, I don't want to hear it, Gabriel. Beth exclaimed as she got in the car. She looked at Marcos, my God, how can you live with that all the time? My brain hurts after talking to him for 5 minutes. Dewey got in the driver's seat. Beth looked out the window to see Scott socializing with all the neighbors. She rolled down her window, come on. We have a fugitive in the car. This is not the time to be socializing. She looked at Marcos again and laughed, what a time to be locally famous, really you aren't going to say one word to me? You better quit your silent treatment by the time my honey gets in here because he doesn't do well with that. Obviously I'm not happy that I'm going to jail. Marcos mumbled. Face the music, brother, it was only a matter of time before you had to go down for your cousin. If you would have given him up already then you maybe could have, by miracle, gotten yourself out of trouble. Beth explained. Scott jumped in the car, all right, let's roll out. I'm so glad we run on your time. Beth chuckled.
Yeah.
I'm the daddy of the group, of course we run on my time. He turned to Marcos, this is your chance to talk before you get into jail and everything you say is monitored. Where is Antonio? Marcos replied, you keep asking us where to find him, but don't you think we would have given that up by now? I can't hear you, you're mumbling. And no, I don't think that because with your dad controlling everyone he would never give that information up. Scott replied. What about my Fifth Amendment? Marcos replied. That's fine if you want to play that card, but we aren't the cops. We are here to help you, not fight you. Beth said. Soon enough they pulled up to the jail that they had visited so many times within the last week. Welcome to your new home, at least for now. Dewey said as he helped Marcos out of the car. Before they opened the doors Marcos stopped just past the railroad tracks is where you'll find him. The address is nameless so that's why we haven't given it up. Wait, what? Beth asked. Just then a guard opened the door and Marcos was silent again. Beth motioned to Grace to write that hint down. The boys guided Marcos into intake as Scott and Beth remained outside. Just the big fish to go. Scott mumbled. Just past the railroad tracks? There isn't a train that runs through Los Campos? We need to go back to the office and figure this out. Beth said aloud. Scott marched proudly back into his father's bonds office with his sons with perfect postures following behind him. Felicia looked up from behind the computer. I see your spirits have changed since you left here. Scott laughed one by one. They are going down. Beth sat down at the other open computer. Railroad tracks? Scott exclaimed.
Yeah.
It was great. We got him totally off guard. Just then the little bell above the door rang. Her voice cracked. Hi, my name is Hallie Burns. I am aware that I am wanted and I am here to turn myself in.